Hello and welcome back to Katawa Shoujo! We just started the next act, the final act of Shizune's playthrough. So, we did not have the relations with Misha. So, hopefully that means we're gonna get at least a neutral end. I'm pretty sure you did the relations with Misha, you will get the bad end, but maybe it doesn't really matter that much. We shall see. Okay, so apparently I didn't save it last time. I don't know why I wouldn't have done that. But we're here now. And the same things I said apply, but now we're over here. Only a day later, the weekend has already arrived. I drop a heavy stack of books on the librarian's desk, not meaning to slam them, but they weigh so much that it happens anyway. Hey. Yuko bolts out of her chair with enough force to dislodge her glasses. She barely holds on to them. Oh, hi. Sorry, I'm here to return all those books I'm supposed to. That's great, but I wish you had brought them back sooner. It wouldn't be a problem if the library had more copies of everything, but it doesn't. And they act like that's my fault. They? Well, they're students. They can be, pretty pushy. Sorry, it just kind of slipped my mind. It's been a pretty rough couple of days. Oh, I suppose you don't want to talk about it. Yuko meekly turns to the task of logging all the books I've brought back as returned, treating them with extreme care and precision, like she's a bomb disposal technician rather than a librarian. Yuko meekly turns to the task of logging... Oh wait. Over the past couple of days, I've been thinking about something Misha said. Of course, I thought about everything she said, but one thing in particular keeps coming back. She talked about how she didn't want to miss people or think about being apart from them anymore. When I recalled those words, they stopped me cold, like a sharp slap across the cheek. In just a few months, we'll be graduating. Misha and Shizune were nearly inseparable, but after graduation, they might never see each other again. I wonder if that thought is what started all of this. If Misha were to try and talk to Shizune about it, Shizune likely wouldn't think about it at all. It would sadden her, and for that reason, she would try and toss it away. For someone like Shizune, who was so quick to suppress her worries, it would be easy. Misha turned out to be more sensitive than she seemed. It would have crushed her, even more so because Shizune's reaction could come off as pretty cold. I don't know if that's how Shizune handled it, but it seems likely, and I can understand why she would act that way. I can also understand why Misha would be troubled by the thought of drifting away from someone who is such an important part of her. I'd never thought about graduation until that moment. Then I began to think things like, has it really only been less than a year? I started thinking of everyone I've met, not only Shizune and Misha, but everyone else. They were fond thoughts. Then I thought of losing them. Suddenly I could understand Misha's anxieties. It could be nice to talk to someone about it. Actually, I kind of want to. With whom? I can sense an obvious tang of apprehension in her voice. With you. Really? Are you sure? Why me? Because you're an adult. That's it? That's... Wincing, she fidgets a little in her seat, trying to get comfortable in a pretty uncomfortable looking way. I guess that means she's okay with it. Is it hard being an adult? Yes. I don't think that I'm that old, though. It's surprising that students now, like Shizune and you, wear stuff like pajamas or perfumes or cologne. I never did. I still don't use them. By the way, you're not wearing your grape cologne today. Yeah, it wasn't working out for me. Oh, that's good. I thought the same thing. Sorry. Yuko looks genuinely sorry, and I feel a pang of guilt. I smile despite myself. A tiny lie like that can come back to bite me in the butt. For Misha, trying to conceal how she felt in order to put on a happy face, or Shizune for so long, must have been crushing. Someone I know brought up that we're going to be graduating, and I realized that I've never thought about it before. I feel stupid that I could go so long and never think about these things. I've met a lot of great people, and I've never thought about what it's going to be like to graduate and maybe never see them again. There are still ways you can keep in touch. Yeah, I guess. I feel childish. I know everyone is going through the same thing, probably. I bet you hear this kind of problem a lot. No, I haven't been working here that long. I worried about the same thing when I graduated from high school. I didn't go to school here, though. I also miss my friends, and I wish I had kept in touch with them better. I should have tried harder. Yuko isn't really helping me feel better, and she clams up quickly when she sees it on my face. I don't want to look back and have those same regrets. I wonder if Shizune even thinks about that kind of stuff, because she goes on sometimes about how she doesn't want to live with any regrets. Wow, that sounds impossible to me. I nod, only halfway wanting to agree. Even so, I think that is kind of admirable too. Kind of brave, don't you think so? Brave is a new way to put it. I mean, I think the only way that you're gonna be able to have no regrets is, to do what you want to do. To a degree. Like if you want to keep in touch with someone, what's stopping you from just saying hi? If they don't respond, then, you know, you've done your part. And if they don't want to keep in touch, that's up to them. But ultimately, that's not a regret on your part, because you did everything you could in that situation, you know? Yuko shakes her head insistently. It's true though, and also kind of intimidating. Geez, you shouldn't be intimidated by high schoolers. I'll try. She wasn't in high school that long ago, I don't think. She turns away to start folding a sticky note over and over. Pretty idle behavior for a university student, but more importantly, I wonder if I said the wrong thing to her. Being around Shizune for so long, I can't stop reading as much as I can into every moment of silence. If Yuko were the type of person who didn't get intimidated by high schoolers, it probably wouldn't be so easy to talk to her. It's all too easy to want to shed some negative qualities of yours. When I think of everyone I know, it's those qualities that I like the best. I don't think I really regret it. I thought as long as I could remember the good times, that was enough. I don't know. Sorry. I notice a couple students starting to trickle into the library and decide that my time is up. No, that was helpful. I feel like two of my friends are fighting because one of them is taking the fact that we might not see each other again after we graduate really hard, and the other is probably being stoic about it, which only makes it worse. I don't get how I'm supposed to handle this kind of situation. It doesn't seem like the kind of problem where I'll have to end up taking a side. But it could turn out that way, and then I have no idea what I'm going to do. You should tell them they shouldn't fight. I know, fighting is bad. It's not Shizune and Misha, by the way. Okay, I wasn't really thinking that, though. How embarrassing. Even though I knew it would be, I still feel my cheeks redden. And even so, I still said something so transparent and blatantly a lie. But it could be that sometimes that is the right way. Do you have any books about people who have to make hard decisions? We have a lot of self-help books. It's funny that I can find that surprising because I wouldn't have only a few months ago. I meant about, not for. There aren't many, right? Yes, not many, I mean. Though I feel a bit apprehensive about it, I want to talk to Shizune. I don't understand why I feel nervous about it, and that disgusts me a little bit. It also motivates me to look for her, right then and there. Although I don't have to look very hard, she's in the student council room as always. Worryingly, Misha isn't with her. When Shizune notices me and looks up from her paperwork, the first thing I ask is where she is. I don't know. There is so much uncertainty in her answer that I can't let it go just like that. She's missing a lot of school. Well, she's depressed. Are you the attendance police? Kinda. That's really strange coming from the student council president. Shizune hides a laugh behind a cupped hand, and I start to think that I might be worrying for nothing. And then her laughter slowly fades away to a more serious and pensive expression. You're right. Yesterday. I catch the hint of a knowing smile on her face when she sees my poorly hidden panic at the word. Despite her best efforts, she can't help being satisfied in eliciting surprise from everyone else to the very end. Even then, I can see that she has bigger concerns from how quickly her smile vanishes. Before either of you noticed me, I saw what you were saying. I'm not stupid. If I hadn't, I could still see through Misha while we were walking back, even if she hadn't told me everything later. She didn't make a big deal out of it, but anyway, you look at it, it's my fault, isn't it? What did she tell you? Shizune winces at the question, though it's clear she's been expecting it. She follows it up with a very grand gesture. A lot. Like that I can be selfish and confusing. I tried too hard to bring people around me and then push them away. I didn't know what I should do. I thought she was right to mention all of those things, so I just agreed with her, but that only made things worse. I don't understand. Adjusting her glasses, she looks pretty tired. I hope it isn't because she's been busy avoiding Misha, but I can't help considering the possibility, seeing where this conversation is going. It's true, even the student council being this small and us always being swamped with work, is my fault. I might have even ended up driving a lot of people off and away from the student council acting like that. She's saying it so happily, but everything she's saying is very upsetting. Shizune wags a finger mischievously, acknowledging that might is an understatement. However, from how warily she does it, it's obvious the humor is only to put me at ease and therefore not genuine. Like Lily, for instance. She was the first person to join when I started trying to recruit people again after everyone else left, because they couldn't stand me, I guess. We managed to put together the last festival and even ran a booth together at the last minute. But I didn't like her because I thought she was selfish, always holding us up in order to tend to one friend of hers or another, and leaving Misha and me alone to sort out things involving the whole school by ourselves. If there were any problems she was going through, she would leave us high and dry while she panicked over it and wouldn't come back until it was solved. She would focus on it 100% and be too preoccupied to focus on any student council work. That was the worst to me, and she could be so nice and still take so many people for granted. Why even join the student council then? It seems so short-sighted and selfish, don't you think? No. How is it selfish if she's out there helping other people? But it's actually me who's that way. Like Misha said, always trying to pull people close to me, then shutting them out. That is how I treated her, which makes me a bad friend. And it feels like I did the same thing to you then, so I guess I'm a bad girlfriend too. Even if Misha says that you might as well replace her. I'm angry that I screwed things up enough for it to get out of hand. All I wanted was to... She pauses to look for the right words, tenting her fingers in concentration. Make people happy, I think. Even though that seems like a simple way to put it. As she rests her head against her hand, Shizune's bangs fall delicately across her eyes, hidden behind those polished glasses, reflecting just the tiniest bit of light. It may be wrong to think so, but right now she seems especially beautiful, like a more complete person. It feels like this is my first chance to respond to her outpouring of emotions. Replacing Misha as Shizune's interpreter? Misha must be joking. She's not joking, she's insecure. There's a difference. It took all my energy to keep up with her just now, her signing filled with gestures that I've never seen before. Likely their habits picked up from Misha and developed from years of them being together. I could never replace someone so close to her. I like you because I like you, not because I got tricked into it by you. Despite how hard she tried anyway, I continue to stare back into her eyes, as sharp as ever. The first time I saw them, they had seemed a bit intimidating to me, like the eyes of a predator. That hasn't changed, which I find reassuring. I still want to make everyone happy. Starting with Misha? Shizune looks a bit annoyed that I would imply she would start with anyone else, and smiles confidently as though a friend's sadness is a physical opponent she can just strangle into submission. Of course, obviously, naturally. Taking off her glasses, she leans back in her chair and lets out a sigh. It's the first time I've seen her without them on, but I don't... Oh, she is not wearing glasses. But I don't get a good look before she slips them back on. But I'm too afraid to start today. First thing tomorrow. Do you want to help? Yeah, I do. And I have other student council stuff you could help me with while you're at it. Although it turns out that there isn't much other work at all. Why everybody knocking on my door? Quit it! There's no school today, so I expected to be able to sleep in late. Unfortunately, I'm awakened by someone mercilessly pounding on my door at 8 in the morning. At first, I thought it could be Kenji, but when my shouts of annoyance go unanswered, I realize it's Shizune. Well, didn't he just sit there and knock on your door and not say shit before? She immediately backs away from the door when I open it, quickly concealing something behind her back. Kind of ominous. What's that? Is it a surprise? I don't really like surprises. The displeased expression on her face says that she wants me to stop being such a wet blanket, but she's too busy fumbling with what's behind her back to sign it. It must be frustrating for her because seconds later she swings the object out proudly, but also a little dangerously. Ta-da! A picnic basket. We can have lunch together, the three of us. It's not really a basket, it's more like a plastic bag. Taking a quick look inside, I can see that most of the food inside is also store-bought, not homemade. Some items still have price stickers on. There's a very diverse selection here, though. Even a tiny tin of caviar. I'm slowly becoming more impressed with this lunch. I pick a grape out of there and pop it in my mouth. It's not picnic time! You can't just eat all the grapes! Don't just take things like that. I spent all night perfecting this final weapon. Shizune places it down on the ground to free up her hands and immediately starts playfully tapping it between her feet like a soccer ball. Definitely not what you should do to anything you're going to call a final weapon. I'm going to kill Misha, and now it will be just us and we will elope into the sunset. All part of my get Misha to stop being so depressed plan. What a name. What a concept. I stayed up all last night working on it. When we tried to order in last time, Misha barely got anything and used it as an excuse to leave early. I won't let her get off so easily this time. The food is already here. She'll have to sit down and eat with us. It's the perfect bait. Doesn't everything look irresistible? I tried to make it myself, but I don't know how to make it look all fancy, so I ended up buying everything. Still looks delicious, doesn't it? It should be. She's very perky today, juiced up on the thought of cheering Misha up, although it's odd to see her so happy about it. I know that she's just as unsure now as she was yesterday. The only thing that has changed is that by viewing it as another sort of challenge for herself, she can put her worries aside and throw herself into it recklessly. It has worked well enough for Shizune so far. It wouldn't surprise me if it's the only way she knows how to live. It's a little early, though. It's already 8 in the morning. That's late. Even Misha gets up at 8 or 9. She goes to bed at 7 p.m., but that isn't important. It's very important. She sleeps 12 hours a day. Shizune ignores me, gagging my hands by taking them in hers instead of a more proper rebuttal. The way she lingers against me a moment longer than expected feels really comforting. The point is, she's awake right now, walking around somewhere. Let's go find her. She sprints out the door impatiently and her gusto as she drags me along looking for Misha makes me feel more like I'm following a hunter on a safari than looking for a mutual friend. We don't have to look very hard. Even cropped short, her pink hair stands out. The fact that she's just meandering around the grounds out in the open makes it even easier. Now I'm sounding like a safari hunter. Misha!
Huh?
We were just looking for you. It's a good day for a picnic. You should join us. We even have caviar. Not sturgeon, of course, but really tasty.
Caviar? Sturgeon?
Apparently finding it annoying to have to explain anything at length with only one hand, Shizune gives up quickly.
Fish eggs. What?
It tastes good.
Sorry, Shi-chan. I think I'll pass for today.
When Misha starts to walk away, Shizune holds the bag out towards me, needing me to take it so that she can free her hands. As soon as it's out of her hands, she darts in front of Misha, cutting her off. I made so much food, though.
Sorry, I'm just not hungry right now. Meh.
When are you going to be hungry, then?
Shi-chan, that's impossible to know.
Well, usually you're just hungry all the time. You can guess. The tension between them infuriates Shizune, and she's trying to deal with it by trying to tear through it, but that approach isn't going to work. True. I thought and hoped that Misha had gotten herself together, but I guess she was just cut too deep by what happened. In that case, it's really out of anyone's hands. I believe that Shizune might understand that on some level. If she didn't, she wouldn't have any doubts at all. Because she can't speak, though, I've learned to notice her hesitation. It's very clear she might as well be screaming. Misha waves her hands in front of her, not wanting to continue the discussion any further, and quickly slips away. Shizune fumes silently, reluctant to let her go, but having no way to keep her here. And Misha's back grows smaller in the distance. I wonder where she's heading off to. Is Shizune wondering the same thing? As she bites her lip in frustration? I want to touch her reassuringly on the shoulder, but I stop myself, not knowing if it's the right thing to do. Not because she looks fragile, vulnerable, or sad. It's the opposite. After a while, her expression belies no emotion at all, only contemplation. Suddenly, she whirls around. What am I going to do with all this food? Now this food is going to go to waste. Yeah, I mean, we can still eat it. That makes me mad. Although it's obvious Shizune is more hurt than mad, the bag dangling from my hand feels like it's filled with lead. Let's go on a date. Where do you want to go? I don't know. The roof? It's my favorite spot. Well, then I guess we're going to the roof. You know, lady's choice. A wry smile appears on her face, disappearing just as quickly. On the roof, I immediately crack open the caviar, ignoring a derisive look from Shizune all the while. I end up putting it down immediately. Where are the toast points? I didn't make any. Like I told you, I bought everything. What are toast points? Not toast points, though. What are toast points? Why is that important? Anyway, they don't sell just toast points. That would be stupid. I bet they do. Maybe in stores for the exceptionally lazy, but not here. Why don't you just use a tortilla chip? A tortilla chip is not the same. They're both triangles. Stop being such a princess. I didn't know there was a proper way to eat caviar. This is the first I'm hearing of it. It's not the same thing at all. I can't be decadent like this, and anyway, how can she not know? She lives in a huge mansion. Shizune takes the opportunity to scoop half of the tin onto a single chip in the meantime. Hey! I'm sure it doesn't even taste good like that. There's too much food here for two people because we can't communicate with each other while we eat. Both Shizune and I have a lot of time to sit in silence and think about the fact that Misha, the person she set all this up for, isn't here. It's annoying that she isn't here. I can't even enjoy my meal like this. I stare at the paper cup next to her, still half full of juice. I thought you didn't want all this food to go to waste. I wanted Misha to be here too. That was the whole point. I wasn't able to accomplish what I wanted to, so it doesn't taste good. You should eat it. Eat more. Eat all of it, in fact. I want the fried things, though. You keep eating them all, even though you say they don't taste good. Fried things are always delicious. There's always an exception for them. You'll get fat. Shut up! Leave my weight out of this, Hisao, you rat bastard. I think you're being too aggressive. It's like I told you yesterday. I'm only trying to cheer her up. Yeah, but it seems more like you're planning a military campaign and not considering her emotions at all. I'm only trying to take it seriously. And this is the only way I know how to do it seriously. I feel so powerless. I hate it. I can't even yell at her, too, even though I want to. Yelling is for serious occasions, right? Yeah, but I don't know if it's the best approach to what you're dealing with at the moment. You should yell at Misha for me. You can tell her that I want her to stop being so down. Even if she feels sad and alone, it's no reason to stay gloomy forever. Wow, you did it. You cured her depression, Shizune. You're a god. Why don't you? Why don't you? I already did. Over a game of dice. Under over, to be exact, I won 5 times. Only the two of them would take so much pride in winning games of pure chance. Then I tried to talk to her, but it didn't go so well, obviously. Well, so did I. I tried and failed. My goal has always been to do everything better, though. Yeah, your one-upsmanship is really something. But I failed too. That's why I want your help. I don't understand what I'm supposed to do anymore. Well, playing dice with someone and yelling at them because they're depressed isn't really that's not the look. That's not gonna really do anything for you. For someone like Shizune, who has only ever interacted with the world by locking horns with every obstacle in her path, understanding only goes so far. I want to tell her that she doesn't have to worry, that she is great at cheering people up, because she managed to cheer me up my first week here. In retrospect, I must have looked like kind of a dick, being in such a sour mood from the moment I came here, even though I don't think I was being unreasonable. Even having months to digest it, finding out that you have a heart defect like I did, is hard to deal with. I'd had much less time to mull over suddenly being transferred to Yamaku on top of that. Spending the festival with Shizune really helped me out of that rut. I was happy enough to forget that the entire time it felt as though she were manipulating me. I understand now that I had allowed myself to be manipulated. Hisao is gaslighting himself, confirmed? Even though I felt like I was at the bottom of the world, I still wanted to have a normal life again. I'm sure because I enjoy what I have now. I think it must be the same for everyone, including Misha. Everyone wants someone there to pull them up out of their self-pity. It's just that Misha always wanted Shizune to be that person. But because they can't be together, I think Misha feels that she can't accept Shizune's hand, and that frustrates Shizune. But if she could cheer up a stranger like me, then she'd die trying with Misha. I can see it in her eyes, too. Though she tries to treat it like any other problem in her life, Shizune can't do that with Misha's depression. Her thought processes are entirely different, in some ways more careful, in some ways more reckless and frenetic. She cares that much more. I end up not saying anything, partly because sitting next to her like this, just the two of us, is pleasant enough in itself that I don't want to interrupt the moment with a question. And partly for a more cowardly reason. I've started to think they weren't, but I don't know if her actions that day might not have been an afterthought or even a fluke, just a collection of coincidences. I don't know if that would change anything, but I'm uncomfortable thinking about it. The fence behind me trembles slightly, and I turn to see that it's because Shizune has fallen asleep leaning against it. Considering she was up all night, it's not surprising. Where does all this motivation come from? Not just in regards to Misha. I'm cynical, so it's hard for me to just accept that anyone can simply be that strong. My first thought was that maybe it's because she hates herself. It's very plausible. Being against her, I feel sad knowing that that might be the case. But it could be that we're similar and that we both want to be better people. It seems like I ate too much yesterday, because I wake up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy, just nauseous enough for it to be a problem. I can't really postpone going into town for shopping, though, so despite wanting to roll over and sleep it away, I force myself to get up and dress instead. Somewhere between buying toothpaste and a few other groceries, I end up walking it off. Then I feel hungry. After stopping for breakfast, it hits me how much time has gone by. I hadn't expected to be out this long at all. I'm not even sure if I bothered to lock my door. I should really get back. Hello? When I get back to the dorm, I see Hideaki standing in front of my room from the entrance. I can think of a few things more unexpected, and I can't help thinking I might have a heart attack just from the surprise. Fortunately, it doesn't happen. Fortunately, I die, and credits. As soon as he sees me, he says hello in his usual detached way. I'm a little slow to reply to him, so he repeats the greeting without missing a beat. Hello. Is something wrong? I'm just surprised to see you here. Not as surprised as I could have been, since it's impossible to mistake him for anyone else. I'd recognize those weird clothes everywhere. Come to think of it, I've really surrounded myself with distinctive-looking people lately. Hideaki's head lolls slightly to one side, a little too easily. Why? Is it unusual to see someone's family come to see them? What? Wait, you're not my family. Well, yeah, actually. So Hideaki isn't such a robot after all. In fact, it's almost as if he's more caught off guard by the fact he even can be caught off guard, but he recovers quickly. Nevertheless, in that brief moment, he looks his age. That uncomfortable side of his seems to be the more honest, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of it. Not so much, though, that I'd go out of my way to pry. Only Shizune would be that zealous, that my thoughts get so far as proof she is rubbing off on me. I'd think you'd have a reason, that's all. Well, there is one. See? Anyway, we can talk while we're looking for her. That's why you're here, right?
Shizune is in the student council room. I was looking for you. We might take a trip soon, a family trip. Do you think she would want to come with us?
Yeah, I don't know. She's kind of been on the warpath lately with a lot of stuff, and once she's focused on something, she won't just drop it. I guess you would know that. Hideaki looks much more at ease walking around than I did my first week. So this isn't your first time here? Just throwing it out there, of course completely ignoring the surrounding environment, could just run in the family. It'd explain why Hideaki seems so distant from Shizune. I get the feeling there's more to it than just her deafness.
No, but this is the first time I could walk around so much. It is kind of weird here. I bumped into a person who told me women are not allowed in the dorms. After I told him I'm not a woman, he told me I was misleading and then accused me of being an assassin. I was warned that he was not only invincible, but strong enough to probably destroy the building with a punch, or at least knock over a painting hanging in the hallway. By the way, that painting is totally screwed to the wall. Is actually screwed to the wall.
Yeah, that's the guy across the hall from me. He's okay.
I see. You only left your door you left your door open. It was unlocked when I came here.
I'm a little annoyed that Hideaki knows that. The only way he could is if he had opened my door, but the feeling passes. It doesn't matter. I have nothing to hide or steal unless they want my assortment of medicine.
Your soccer ball is really nice.
That's one of the things that doesn't matter.
If you're a soccer player, a soccer ball is very important.
I guess it is. The thought makes me smile.
I'm here because my father bought a new phone and he wanted to update Shizune, in case she needs to call him. I thought that you should know too, since you're her boyfriend, aren't you?
Yeah. Why?
Just in case there's something wrong or she needs anything.
It isn't what I meant, but I'll go along. Even if she did, she probably wouldn't call.
That is how she is.
Well, if you know, coming all the way here for that though, he could have updated her via email.
He does not like using emails.
That's so old-fashioned. Don't tell me he still does business through regular mail or something. Silence. Now it's my turn to feel awkward. Is Hideaki taking it literally, or did I hit the mark? Nah, I'm sure that what it really comes down to is that he doesn't want to see his daughter and stay in contact with her. In the end, they are still family after all, even though they play at being at each other's throats. He does want to see his daughter. I was like, wait, what's going on? Oh god, he's already here. The door to the student council room is open, and Hideaki and I walk in on Jigoro in mid-rant. He sees us, but decides that it's not something worth stopping rambling at Shizune over. This is really shaking my faith in my previous assumption. When I was in student council, our room was smaller, colder too, like working out of a meat locker, not like you spoiled kids. What a waste, sitting in here in your giant room doing nothing. Aren't there only 3 of you? That makes having so many desks only seem like an unnecessary display of mindless decadence. Appalling! You must use the desks you need and not one more. It is part of my code. She can't control the desks in the room, dude. They just give her a room, and that's what she gets. If they needed the desks, they would put them where they need to go. It may be odd of me to think so, but hearing only half of a conversation is pretty strange. Also, that's some code. How often do you run into desks, Mr. Jigoro? Or, Hakamichi father? Now that I've arrived, he changes the subject and starts talking about the reason he's here. Hideaki and I are going on a trip. What are you doing? Does everyone who uses sign language mumble while they do it? What a rude thing to say. No, but I'm just an amateur. It helps me think. It's kind of like force of habit. Just an amateur. Unbelievable. Fine. He turns back to Shizune, just in time to catch her shaking her head from side to side. Are you sure you won't be coming along? She reiterates the gesture. Fine. Can you tell her to call me if she needs anything? Yes. I really think sending an email would have been easier, though. I'm not going to read emails on my phone. If she won't speak, she can call Hideaki. I suppose if I have to be reached, you would have to call me. Or that other girl would have to call me. Actually, all three of you can just call Hideaki. He does know that his daughter can't talk, right? He does know that, I hope, because, if not, then this is awkward. And with that, he swiftly turns and leaves. Hideaki trails behind him, a long trip for something that took 5 minutes. Neither of them can express their feelings very well. In Shizune's case, I have to question whether she would if she could. It explains a lot, but she doesn't seem unhappy with the arrangement. Even so, I wonder if she might be. When the door closes behind them, leaving Shizune and me by ourselves, she lets out a deep breath that seems to echo in the silence of the room. It's totally ridiculous asking me to go on a trip. The timing couldn't be worse. It overlaps the student council elections, for one. Second, I haven't even cheered up Misha. If you consider that, it's annoying to even have anything else to think about. Yeah, but you might be too focused on all of that stuff right now. Shizune adjusts her glasses roughly. Completely, 100% right. The minute I decided I was going to cheer up Misha, everything else went out on the back burner, I suppose. I think your dad might care about you more than he lets on. I know. So then it could be a good idea. No. And then again, more firmly, as if for both of us. No! After coming this far, I can't take a break. A vacation would be jarring. It would be like waking up in a different life. Yesterday was like my vacation, so now we have to go all in. I'm sorry, but it's just how I am. And if you don't like it, you can fuck off! I remember what Yuko said, that she found Shizune brave in a kind of way. I think I understand what she meant, and I have to agree. Even though it could also be called recklessness and foolishness, and pointless stubbornness, I guess you could call it bravery too. However, I can see that there is a fundamental flaw in Shizune's thinking that I hadn't noticed until now. I'm sure that Shizune has reflected longer and more arduously than I could about where she messed up to create such a bad situation between her and Misha. However, as typical for her, she wouldn't let it hold her back and immediately set out to fix the problem. This completely ignores a large part of the problem, Misha herself. Moving from critical introspection to holding Misha up as part of a goal causes the person to get lost in the shuffle. Shizune has said a lot in the past few days, but nothing about how Misha feels. Shizune's way of thinking is abnormal. Few normal people would reject a friend and then expect things to go back to the way they were so easily. Shizune does, because she sees life as, if I had to put it simply, capable of being segmented and compartmentalized. Misha, like anyone else, sees it as a whole experience, a long, continuous journey where one moment of heartache can follow you forever. For Shizune, an event is an event, and few of them cross over. Life is compartmentalized around triumphs, failures, and decisions, where each one stands as its own story. It's why the thought of a vacation is jarring to her. It's why she can only appreciate people's immediate emotions. It's exactly how someone obsessed with living in the moment would think, really. Likewise, Shizune can see Misha as a friend, but I doubt that she has ever thought of Misha as anything more until recently, or questioned anything about her. Misha is Misha, would be enough for her, even if to Misha it must be unbelievably stifling. Shizune is just Shizune to herself. It's likely she doesn't even think about the after effects of her actions in the long term, as long as they stir up other people's lives. To Misha, though, I'm sure it made her seem almost heroic, like Yuko admiring her bravery and even myself. And Shizune's thoughts on that sentiment are that it was good she could touch someone's life. But it ends there. It's easy to captivate, much harder to nurture. On to the next thing. Thinking of life in terms of almost completely isolated events has a tendency to isolate a person too. Though she's trying to remedy it now, the point remains. There is simply no way Shizune could have avoided hurting Isha. Her emotional investment in Shizune was something Shizune couldn't account for, so she didn't. Combined with her personality, it was inevitable. Both of them have pretty much told me all of that in bits and pieces over the past couple months I've known them. In the middle of considering their differences, an idea begins to take shape in my mind. Are you working on your plans right now, this second? Your Cheer Up Misha plan? Of course, I was thinking about it the whole time I was being yelled at. Flicking her glasses up the bridge of her nose with an oddly triumphant air, she taps her finger against her temple. It's multitasking. Really? Isn't it more like you're able to concentrate on something like that because you can't hear? Well, whatever. When I ask her what she thinks of mine, it turns out we've both arrived to a similar idea. Ooh. Boo boo boo, 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 boo.
Alright, well, we're gonna figure out what this idea is in the next video. I don't really have much else to say, since they're kind of just discovering that feelings cannot be fixed with just a picky nicky. And we're gonna see if Shizune finally figures out how feelings work in the next video. Bye!